Convene in open session. We have a special guest here, Marcus and his mom. Would you come forward, both of you, introduce yourself and please sit at the chair and make sure you're speaking into the microphone. Commissioners welcome you. Thank you for stopping in today.
How are you, Marcus? You all right?
Good.
You can pull that closer to you if you want. All right, the floor is yours, sir, ma'am. And please introduce yourself.
Hi, we're Shanoy and Marcus Ming. We're fairly new to the area. We moved here maybe about 3 years ago, but initially we lived in Hagerstown, just outside of the city limits. And we recently, well, last year, hasn't been a year yet, we moved into our first home. We bought our home here in Big Pool, Maryland. And so we are here because we now have a stake in the county. We own property here, and we don't know what happens here. We have no idea how our town is run. We live in Big Pool. We have no idea what happens there. There's no downtown or city center. And so we showed up here because we are curious as to how our county government works. And Marcus is homeschooled, which is why he's here. So we try to find all the opportunities for us to learn a variety of things, and so that's why we're here. And in particular, we're here again because we homeschool. We need internet. And so that's been a struggle of ours. We currently have, what's it called, Marcus? What do we have? We use
Probably HughesNet or something like that?
Oh, no. Well, that was our option, but we decided not to go with a satellite option because they required 2-year contracts, and we weren't sure what we were buying into.
Right.
And it was very expensive. So we have a mobile hotspot, which doesn't work well because we don't have good cell signal. So we pretty much have no internet.
You must be up around Hanging Rock somewhere where they don't offer.
We are actually right near Fort Frederick.
Yeah,
So we're
okay.
right off the street, Shanktown Road, which is right behind the back of Fort Frederick. So they just happens, like supposedly, Antietam says that they're in Big Pool, but just not on our street. So no one on our street, I believe, has.
Would you be so kind to spell your last name for our record?
Sure. It's M-I-N-G, Ming, like Ming
Thank you,
Dynasty.
thank you. Well, we'd like to turn the conversation over to Marcus.
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is what I want to be when I grow up. Well, that's what I want to tell
Yeah,
you.
we'd like to hear what you want to be.
I want to be an astronaut and pretty much like everybody. Like construction worker, everyday people, pretty much.
Everyday people. Have you been out to the airport yet, Marcus, and looked around?
Yeah.
Okay, you need to go out there. That's all about aviation. You can go all kinds of places out there and look around. We know people that'll give you a tour.
Okay.
Maybe even maybe an elected official even pick you up on a plane if you'd like to go up on a plane sometime.
Okay.
We might be able to arrange that, Marcus.
Well, we'll definitely get contact info because Marcus is big on flying, so
Oh, really? Okay.
hence the astronaut.
So make sure you give Mr. Wagner your contact information. He could easily arrange a flight for you
Okay.
with mom's permission or even,
Yeah.
he can fly over your
It sounds like I'm going to be flying soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other comments that you'd like to add? We welcome you and thank you for moving to Washington County.
Yes, sir.
They would like to know something about Washington County government. Do we have some brochures that we could provide to
Well,
them?
I'm getting my business card.
Krista's getting a business card so you can contact her for all this information. Or Rob
Beautiful
can.
area of Washington County.
And then I had a second question. My husband is planning on opening a business here, and I wanted to know, like, as far as resources for businesses, or what's the county's, I guess, feeling towards small businesses? Like, what's the stance, I guess, on that?
I think the lady's sitting right back behind you there, holding up a card that can help you with that. And we more than welcome every business. I think Susan Small will give you that advice.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very, go ahead, Terry.
Who will the CEO of the business be, Marcus?
Will always be, assistant in some capacity. right? Because we have to incorporate our homeschooling aspect, leadership aspect. So he will be having an important role.
Okay, anything else?
No, that was it.
Thank you for coming
Thank you.
in today. Very nice.
Thank you.
Give him a pen, Joe. Give him a pen.
Yeah, he's got one. Okay, we'd like to return to Deb Condo for another staff report. Please come forward.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
You'll love it. Send you up with Randy.
Yeah.
You can pay for the gas. If you please, your floor, please.
Commissioners, I'd like to request to hire Jonathan Horowitz for the position of business leader in the Division of Business Development. This is a grade 15, step 1 position, starting salary $59,634. The reason for this vacancy is the promotion of Susan Small.
I think Susan Small made a comment last Wednesday. It took a year to replace her, didn't it? That was a very good comment. I recall that. Good job. And by the way, good job at your presentation last week. Commissioners, we have a suggestion on the floor for our hires. Any comments?
I approve the motion to hire a business leader.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for coming back. Next, we have Sheriff Mondor, personnel and recruiting changes. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you. So I'm before you today to make a request. We currently have a total of 7 positions, civilian positions, at the courthouse, Circuit Courthouse, and 3 of those positions are currently open. And I would like to change those positions at a no cost to the county currently from civilian positions to part-time sworn deputies. The reason being it would allow a lot of flexibility. They would be able to actually sit in the courtrooms. They would be able to transport inmates. They would be able to do pretty much everything just that a full-time deputy can do. And the way we would cover those 3 positions currently is we would reduce our overtime cost to accommodate that. In the future, the 4 positions that are still occupied, I'd like to, through attrition, replace them as well. We don't have anyone that's currently looking to retire, but as they do, it would cost about $8,000 to upgrade them to a part-time sworn deputy. And particularly with the 6th Circuit Court judge coming on board, the only alternatives would be to come back to the commissioners and request full-time positions. So we think we can do this more economically and be more flexible by having these part-time sworn deputies as opposed to civilian personnel. The only thing the civilian personnel can do right now is basically do the wanding at the front door. They do help over in the county admin building, but that's pretty much it. Whereas the part-time sworn deputies could do any of the functions that we currently do at the courthouse.
So let me get this straight, Doug. The 3 civilians were missing. They're gone, so we're not. And the 3 part-time, are they utilizing what you already have, or are we hiring 3 part-time?
We would hire 3 part-time to replace those 3 civilians. We either have to hire 3 civilians or we hire 3 of the. We typically have 7.
And when all the smoke clears after all the retirements, we'd end up with how many? With 7.
That's
and
correct.
how many would be part-time and full-time?
They would all be part-time.
Okay.
And it would be 7 sworn part-time positions.
Would the civilians have an opportunity to apply for one of those?
If they qualify. What we're looking for, Terry, are people who are still able to be certified, so retired police officers, things of that nature. I don't think I have anybody that really qualifies for that currently.
All right, so you want to move 3 part-time to full-time.
And to allow for, through attrition, for the 4,
And the cost savings would be due to elimination of overtime.
that's correct, currently.
Did you look at that, Sarah? Did you buy it?
Yes, I did look at that. We reviewed that together. So for fiscal year 2020, a reduction in approximately 30,000 in overtime will provide for the upgrade of the part-time civilians to the
Part-time sworn deputies.
part-time sworn deputies.
Yes.
After fiscal year 2020, or I guess during whenever the other 4 leave through attrition, it's the hope of the sheriff that those positions would be able to be upgraded then, and that would come at a cost of approximately $8,000 per position. So that's something that the commissioners should keep in mind for the future. For this transition. So initially, to change the 3 that are currently vacant, we can use savings from overtime. The 4 for the future may have $8,000 cost.
But we're adding a judge over there too, right? It's going
That's
to
true.
create
That's
more of a workforce.
That's right.
That's true.
Sheriff, do you know when the additional judge comes on board?
I don't. That will really be up to the governor.
Okay. And do you know, once that additional judge does come on board, are these 7 part-time deputies, is that adequate to staff the additional inflow of people? And
We believe so, at least initially, to be able to do that, because the caseload is not going to be real heavy in the beginning. And as we replace through attrition, we think the 7 will be able to take care of that, which would eliminate us having to come back and ask for full-time positions, and in maintaining the civilian positions as well. So,
I'll go ahead. I was going to do the same, but go ahead.
well, I'll make a motion to approve the changes as presented.
I second it, yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, Sheriff.
thank you very much, Commissioner.
Next on the agenda is a public hearing, agricultural preservational easements. We're a little early, but I think we can begin. It is my understanding that there's no oath or any testimony needed for,
No oath is needed.
no oath is required for this.
And you ought to make sure you ought to tell the commissioners each individually, Chris.
Okay, good morning.
Do I need to read this first before he begins? Sure. Pardon the interruption, sir. Next on the agenda is the public hearing concerning the agricultural preservation easement ranking. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, and the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. Mr. Seifert, would you introduce the matter?
Yes, good morning. So just a brief background. The Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program has been around now for 41 years. Washington County has participated since the start. It is one of the land preservation easement programs. We buy development rights from willing farmers. There's an appraisal done and they determine a value. When we buy off the development rights, the farm is preserved in perpetuity. So for FY20, as in all other years, we have many applicants and not enough money to go around. So we rank the applicants, and per state law, the ranking is confidential. Only the commissioners and staff can see those rankings. And so when we're finished, we will send the approved ranking down to the state, and folks will be paid in order of that ranking. Typical year, we have enough money for 3, possibly 4 farms. So you see on the list here of 17, there's never enough money to go around. So the Ag Board works diligently to pick the best farms, and this has been a number of years in putting these rankings together. So everybody has opportunity, the landowners all have opportunity to give us any information for the Ag Board to review, and several, in fact, attended this last meeting. So with the funding then, we do not have any funds out of the general fund. We do have ag transfer tax, and the county also uses some of the installment payment funds, which is a real estate piggyback tax. So we use half of the $400,000 from that fund. So we combine that with state funds, and it's leveraged. And in a typical year, we can expect somewhere around 1.4, 1.5 million. So at about 36 to 4,000 per acre, you can do the math. We can expect somewhere of about 400 acres. So with that, I'll turn the property list over to Chris.
Yep. So as Eric mentioned, we've got 17 applicants in this cycle. I'll give you a little background, short background on each of the applicants in alphabetical order. So the first one we have is the Brian and Terry Baker property. It's 54.
Who?
Brian and Terry Baker.
That's not me.
That's not you, no. 54.82 acres on the north side of Barnes Road in Boonesboro. There aren't any buildings or dwellings or anything on this property. It's just strictly crop ground to support their dairy operation on a different parcel. We've got the Philip Bowers property, 52 acres on the north side of Dellinger Road in Williamsport. 2 dwellings on the property consist of mostly woodland and pasture. We have the Neil Corwell and Catherine Sincel Corwell, 189.15 acres, west side of Rocky Meadow Road in Clear Spring. No dwellings, 3 ag buildings on the property. Actually, there are 2 dwellings, 3 ag buildings on the property, used mostly for hay and pasture. EDDN LLC, 180 acres on Lappins Road. Boonesboro, 1 house, several farm buildings which help serve the beef operation. Donald and Gary Hendershot, 168.89 acres, west side of Rockdale Road in Clear Spring. 2 dwellings, several farm buildings, a pretty heavy-duty dairy operation there. Brent, Mary, John, and Linda Hurst, 119 acres on Big Pool Road in Clear Spring. 2 dwellings, multiple farm buildings, large dairy operation. Keith, Roseanne, John, and Linda Hurst, 193 acres on Big Pool Road, Clear Spring. They have an existing crepe easement on the property, 2 dwellings, few farm buildings. They support the dairy operation next door. Don Hauser, 130 acres, west side of Downsville Pike, Williamsport. 1 dwelling, several farm buildings, beef operation. Sandy Iser, 127 acres on the north side of Natural Well Road in Williamsport. 1 dwelling, multiple farm buildings for the crop and pasture operation. Larry and David Cadle, 139 acres on the east side of Wheeler Road in Boonesboro. 1 dwelling, several farm buildings, support a dairy and crop operation. Brooks and Catherine Long, 157 acres on the east side of Spielman Road, Williamsport. They have a permitted use area on that application for the new building and that they are putting in place for the cheese operation. There's 1 dwelling, several farm buildings, and of course it's a dairy operation. John and Wendy Meyer, 103.05 acres on the south side of Neck Road in Williamsport. Got a dwelling, 2 farm buildings. It's a hay and pasture operation. Paul and Paula Roderick, 149 acres on the east side of Whitehall Road, Hagerstown. 1 dwelling, several farm buildings, beef, dairy, heifers, and a crop operation. Scott and Kristen Shank, 105 acres on the west side of Old National Pike in Hagerstown. 1 dwelling, multiple farm buildings, the beef and grain operation. Joelle and Evelinda Strite, 119 acres on the west side of Row Road, Smithsburg, one dwelling, multiple farm buildings for the dairy operation. And finally, Dawn Strite, 140 acres on the south side of Old Forge Road, Hagerstown, one dwelling, multiple farm buildings. It's a crop and beef operation currently. As you can see, there's quite a few applicants. They are all ranked with our ranking system that you have in front of you. The majority of the categories in that ranking system are straightforward. We have a couple subjective categories on there that the Ag Board helps us finish up.
I can
that's
tell you, Commissioners, I was a part of this process. I didn't rank anybody because I'm sitting up here, but I'm on that board and I observed how they rank. And to me, it's these people on that board know what they're doing. They're farmers, or they've been around farming and they know these farms, so they can offer input on how's and to Eric and Chris's credit, they even send an email out if they're not sure to the farmers. How is your stream seasonal or does it run full time? That might be a ranking method. I was very impressed with it. I made it through about half of the ranking and I excused myself because it was, and I left. But I just wanted to see how that ranking system went. And I thought it was very, very fair. It's a shame we have 17 people and you're probably going to hit the top 3, or 4, whatever the money runs out. Depends on the acreage. That's a shame we don't have more money to help them all. But I thought it was a very well thought out process. That's my input. If you're wondering how it's ranked.
Just out of curiosity, what's more preferable, a full year stream or a wet weather stream?
Constant running water, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the categories in our ranking involves water availability. So, if it's running all year, we've got more water availability than if it's dry for 3 months of the year.
Commissioners,
You gotta take a question.
there's a point that we're coming up on comment time, so if you could save your comments till later on in the hearing, is that okay?
Oh, okay. I forgot this is public hearing.
Right.
He'll get to you, Marcus, sooner or later, I think.
Yeah,
Here.
thank you for the introduction, staff. We will now open the public hearing for public comment. Anyone to wish to testify, please come forward and give your name and address and tell us what you'd like to know. So please come forward.
So my question is,
Speak into this, please.
Hmm?
You can sit down.
Marcus, go ahead, begin.
my question is, how do you rank a farm?
Well, we have a lot of criteria. The main thing is we look at large blocks. If the property is next to other permanent land preservation, then they get a full 25 points. We look at the soil capability. We look at the type of operation, how intensively it's farmed. We looked at other things such as if it's in a priority preservation area, and we look at how close it is to growth areas. Other smaller categories, are they the owner-operator? Are they full-time farmers? How well have they managed the program and the buildings? So we put all those factors together and come up with a point system, and then we pay them in order of that ranking. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you for
Good
asking.
question, Marcus. That was a good question.
Questions for the review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there anyone else in the audience who'd like to testify, give comment? Seeing none, do the commissioners have any questions?
Yeah, I apologize. I forgot we were in a public hearing and I went out of, but anyway, I've already said it, so I'm good.
Anyone else? I now have the public hearing is now concluded. Commissioners, for comments or actions you would like to take?
Is this list made public at some point or
It's
never?
made today.
The ranking is not public. However, we have to advertise for the public hearing, so I always put the landowners alphabetically by last name. That is public. We just can't make the ranking public. It essentially becomes public when they get an easement.
And some of these people have been on the list for years, right?
20 years.
20 years, just hoping to keep moving up. And
Yep.
sometimes it doesn't happen.
And sometimes you get new hotshot farms coming in that keep them right where they are. So
Yeah.
we have people who've come in the first year and gotten purchased, and others waited 20 years,
Right.
still waiting.
Okay, Commissioners, any comments? There's a recommend for a motion.
I motion we accept the ranking and of the, I don't know, give me an idea. Well, how do I make this motion? Motion we,
Move to approve the
By the
ranking
land,
as recommended.
by the ag land.
recommended by the Ag
Is there a
Preservation Board.
Second.
second? I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, illicit discharge detection and elimination. Dan DeVito and team, please come forward.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Dan DeVito, Director of Division of Environmental Management, and John Swaggart. What's your title again?
Stormwater management.
Stormwater Management. We are here in front of you today to ask for a consensus to start the ordinance adoption process. And that process is first for the commissioners to review and approve of the ordinance that we are proposing, and then it would be taken to public hearing, and then finally come back to the commissioners for approval. Just to remind you that the MS4 permit that we are currently under, one of the minimum control requirements in that permit is that we adopt some form of a ordinance or some control measure that we are able to detect and eliminate illicit discharges into the stormwater system. And what we have in front of you is a proposal to do that, and it basically outlines what those discharges are, all of the different terminology, and it talks about remedial efforts and what we can do, and it gives us the authority to actually implement and stop discharges and to affect mitigation. So what in front of you again is the proposed ordinance, and once that ordinance is adopted by the board and it becomes an ordinance in the county, then that will be a template that's used by other jurisdictions that is a part of our MOU, our memorandum of understanding with the other jurisdictions. So they are also under a permit, and it's part of the general MS4 permit. And if you have any questions, I'm sure John would be more than happy to answer them.
Commissioners, questions? You're asking for consensus to start the
To
adoption
move
process?
forward with the process, yes, sir.
I'm okay.
Commissioners, everybody okay with the consensus for that?
Yes.
I see 3 nods, yes. Consensus.
Thank you
to move
very much.
forward. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, water quality budget transfer. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Bradshaw, Division of Environmental Management. Today I'm bringing before you a request to have a budget transfer approved. Water Quality has sold several pieces of older equipment on gov deals, and when the payments were received for said equipment, the money was deposited into operating budget revenue accounts. What we'd like to do is now transfer that money back out of the operating budgets and put it back into the CIP account, since the equipment was originally purchased with CIP money. So I have attached the budget transfer form, and also I have attached the spreadsheet showing the various equipment that Water Quality has sold and the price that we got from each piece of equipment.
Commissioners, questions? So you're taking vehicles that were bought with CIP?
Have we done this before?
No.
And how many years have we been involved or selling properties through .gov,
Gov deals?
gov deals?
I think it's only last couple years we started selling equipment on gov deals, but we haven't really sold a significant amount within our group.
I guess my question is, you're asking, was it 82,000?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think we have that, Terry. Do you have, I don't have that in my folder, do you?
Somewhere, I just read it. Thought it did.
Okay. It was
Well, the
out of
budget
order then.
transfer is for $82,240.
So do we do that for all of the departments?
We have not in the past.
Here, it should be
Generally,
right- oh, there it is.
there's not as
knew
much
that.
equipment. That may play a factor here, but
Is there a need for the money to stay in the general fund?
Uh,
That's-
if the funding stays in the sewer fund, water and sewer funds,
Correct, that's what I meant. Thank you.
yeah, then it will fall to the fund balance. If it's transferred out to capital, it will not be there to provide revenue to the fund for the operating fund. So we have had many conversations on, the status of the water quality funds. This is Fund 40, the utility fund.
Yes.
So it's not water or sewer. However, water and sewer do support that fund. So that fund is supported 90% by the sewer fund and 10% by the water fund. So the impact, there is an impact on the water and sewer funds.
I have a question here. We're not in the used car business or the used equipment business, but we got 26 items here, right? Am I correct? At $82,000 or $76,000 we profited.
it was 82,765.
And we guess we paid a fee, we ended up with 76,000.
Correct.
And I don't want to be in the used car, used equipment business. But wouldn't it, some of this stuff seems really cheap, what it's sold for online. Wouldn't it be just as easy to call up an auction, a guy down there, Cochran or someone, just say, here it is? I think we'd make more money. And am I off base here, guys, or do we want to?
Well, what you don't see listed here, some of the older equipment had in excess of, I know that one vehicle had 211,000 miles on it that was sold.
Right.
Just getting broke in.
It's like a John Deere tractor, 4,300, $9,000. There's people, that might not be bad, but I don't want to, again, I don't want to get into the weeds with used cars and used equipment, but I'm just wondering if we've explored, would it be just as easy, because we still got to deal with it, to call some auctioneer like Cochran and say, here, and I don't know Jimmy Cochran, so I'm just using it as, say, just sell all this stuff.
Well, I believe it's part of the purchasing policy that when we have equipment that, first of all, we find out if there's any place in the county that needs it and can use it in another place of the county. And if that's not the case, and most of trust me, most of this equipment was probably for parts. Very little of it was
Like
actually.
a 2004 Chevrolet Silverado with 4-wheel drive for $1,600.
I think
That
that's-
going, it sounds like you'd be able to sell that thing to anybody for $1,600.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but we spent $6,000 selling this online, so that must be a commission to somebody.
Well, basically, all we're doing is giving the information to GovDeals, which that fee has been restructured. We will receive a more rebate back with the deal we just recently signed with GovDeals. But it's been more favorable for us to get a return on the investments going through GovDeals as opposed to going to an auction house.
Oh yeah, I'm not throwing stones. It just seems to me $1,600 for a 2004 Silverado 4-wheel drive seems pretty reasonable if it runs.
Some of the equipment that comes through, if you could see some of the pictures that we have to.
Okay.
And I think.
We get $1,000.
Some of them actually may have bad transmissions.
Gotcha.
And we do list that in there.
All the vehicles are sold as is, and they're, I mean, we part them out as we can. If we could part them out and use the parts for other equipment that we have, we do that. And I think one of the things too that should be pointed out is that our normal process would be for us to take CIP money and allocate CIP money to put in our vehicle replacement program. And what we've been able to do by utilizing this particular program, we went through, I believe I reported to the commissioners at previous meetings that we went through our entire inventory building and cleaned the whole
Right.
inventory building out, resulting in a lot of this equipment that was sitting in our warehouse, and we got rid of it and
Right.
turned it into cash, which now supplants the money that we would have had to put in the CIP.
Yeah, I commend you for that. You come up with $76,000. My only question was, we don't do this a lot. Is there just a better way to make a couple more dollars? That's all I cared about. So,
Commissioner Wagner, Commissioners, as far as the condition of the equipment, as Dan and Rick have spoken, I required now with Gov Deals, anything that's going up to auction to have a photo attached. So I do see many of the photos. I can't claim to look at every photo. But when they say rotten floorboards, you will see sheet metal in some of the floorboards of these vehicles. This is equipment that's been pretty well used. I can certainly attest to that. And we can see by the bids there are a number of people looking at these, so we do have some confidence that if it is a good piece of equipment, it's getting bid upon competitively.
Well, I like Commissioner Wagner's, your overall thought is good of keeping business local. From that standpoint, I do like it. I'm wondering, I know our other county departments didn't have a need for this. What about some of our municipalities? And how does the process work? So the asset, the vehicle, bulldozer, whatever it may be, has already been sold, and that's the high bid, that's the winning bidder price, but we need to approve it, so it's not a done deal yet?
This equipment has already been sold, and we have received payment, and the new owners have taken possession of the equipment that was sold to them.
If I may comment, a lot of this equipment, and dare I say all of it, has been determined that it's, more or less unfit for county use. It is in that bad of a condition. So I'm not sure if the county would feel comfortable providing it to the municipalities or an outside entity.
And I can tell you, we do exactly what you said. For example, in Clear Spring, we had generators that we sold previously, and we actually looked at Clear Spring to see if we could use one of those. We looked at other places where we may be able to utilize it, and if we could have, we would have offered it to them.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
I have a motion. Is there a second to approve the transfer? Second. Any more discussion? All in favor of approving the transfer of funds, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, property acquisition for widening of Eastern Boulevard. Todd Moser. Todd Hobbs. Welcome, gentlemen.
A little bit of background as staff approaches this. This is for Phase 2 of Eastern Boulevard, where Phase 1 will be underway shortly. Phase 1 is from Jefferson to Security, and Phase 2 is from Security forward to the intersection close to the YMCA, correct?
Correct.
So this is all Phase 2, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so just to keep that in context, we're not asking for acquisition of a project about to go underway. This is the next phase.
And one in Antietam Drive also that Todd will speak here.
Good morning. Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Scott Hobbs, Director, Division of Engineering. Move to approve the option agreements for partial property acquisition, including fee simple and/or easements of 2 Chartridge Drive, 900 Antietam Drive, 19 Loose Lane, 1114 Star Drive, 1112 Star Drive, 1110 Star Drive, and Hillside Manor LLC, lots 61 through 69, and to approve an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the 15 above stated properties. Both the fee simple and easement acquisition are shown in the table below. Properties were appraised in January 2019, and property owners were offered and accepted fair market value for the partial acquisitions. Eastern Boulevard will be widened from 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction from Jefferson Boulevard, Maryland 64 to Antietam Drive, and the construction will occur in several phases of work as indicated in the CIP plan. As we said, this is for both Phase 2 and Antietam at Eastern. One correction in the chart of the properties I have. There was a calculation error in the appraisal that the review appraisal caught. 19 Loose Lane, $1,600 acquisition cost is really $250 acquisition cost.
So what does revertible easement, can you give me what revertible easement means?
So that's going, and at the end of the project, that'll revert back to the owner. Scott can elaborate on.
And that's typically a grading where we're tying in grades where the property still remains with that owner, but to make sure that the drainage can drain correctly, that the road can be tied in, we have that easement. And then sometimes we also have construction easements that go along where there's storage of materials off the side of the road for safety reasons, and that's tied into the easement that the county would have throughout the construction of the project to perform the work safely and efficiently.
What's the typical price? Because I just looked at this, did the math on this one here, and I know it's only 1,610 square foot, but if you do that per acre, that comes out to $78,500 an acre. And we're giving it back to them. But I know we're not using the 78,000. I was just trying to put it in terms that I understand on the amount of square footage that we're putting a revertible easement.
That varies by the size of the parcel. So you really can't calculate it that way. A larger parcel is going to have a lesser impact, which will be less full market value. Everything done here, this project involves both federal and state funds, so everything's under the Uniform Act. We are required to offer full market value for the properties.
When you say full market value, you mean as if we were purchasing it, or as if we're?
Correct.
No, he means as appraised.
As appraised.
Appraised, which
And then we're giving it back to them.
It's still going to be an inconvenience to the property owner, and as far as grading, that does impact the property owner's land.
And yeah, and that's what's valued throughout this is the impact to the property owner as we're constructing the project. And again, the revertible is a lot of times a steeper slope, but we need to go in there and work throughout the year, building the roadway and having those conditions.
It will have a less of a long-term impact on the property.
These easements allow us access to do the work and park our equipment.
Yes,
Is
and
that correct?
Yes, and our entire goal is to make the property owner whole again. The least amount of impact we can make, that's what we want to do with the property.
Commissioners, any more comments? There's a recommended motion to approve the option agreements. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
Is there a second? Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, contract award, Division of Engineering, Rick Curry, Scott Hobbs. Scott Hobbs, welcome back.
Thank you.
Rick, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing, Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. Before you is contract award, engineering services requirements contract. For the record, I need to correct the PUR number. That PUR number should be 1421 instead of 1435. The move is to award a primary requirements contract for engineering services to Wallace Montgomery and Associates, LLP of Hunt Valley, Maryland, for the responsible proposal with the lowest price proposal in the amount of $86,425 as specified in the unit cost. There are no estimated minimum or maximum hours guarantee. Also in the RF, it says that we want to make Peony Associates and Development Facilitators contingent upon them being registered with the Department of Assessment and Taxation. They have already done so and have submitted the paperwork showing they are in good standing. Also, as we permitted in the request for proposal, we have a standby list of consultants, as you can see in the ARF. We have Brutus and Associates, Peony and Development Facilitators, CPJ Associates, and the EADS Group. This is an engineering contract to support the qualified engineering consultants firm to perform engineering services for projects and the CIP plan for general operating budgets and unanticipated emergencies. It's a 2-year contract with 3 one-year options to renew. As stated before, there are no guarantee of hours to be performed. Basically, it works that there are 5 contractors on standby call. If the department deems a project to be under $50,000, it will go to the primary consultant. Projects that are deemed to be $50,000 or more, the project scope will be given to all the consultants, and then they will submit a proposal, and then the lowest proposal would win that work. The RFP was advertised on the county's website, also in the email and marketplace. As you can see, there was 154 firms or individuals who downloaded the document. We had 13 proposals. Through the evaluation process, we eliminated down to 9 proposals, which we opened the price of those 9, as you can see on the bid tabulation. And we recommended by the coordinating committee to award to Wallace Montgomery and Associates LLP of Hunt Valley, Maryland.
Just a quick question, just to educate me a little bit on this. We hire, these are basically our resources for engineering. We need them because we have our own engineering department, but we need them for what reason? Specialized engineering or?
Yes, at times specialized engineering. A big part, as Dan and John just mentioned, was stormwater management and the regulations that we have and the amount of projects we have to do and designs that we have to do. A lot of it's stormwater management and water quality projects forthcoming here in the next couple of years. So they have teams on staff that we would hire to support us and to provide additional designs and projects so that we can meet those requirements. That's key. Some years ago, there's other projects involved. One of the big projects we have is every 4 years with our minor structures for bridges, we have consultants inspect those. So that's an independent consultant. That's also one of the projects that's going to be involved with this.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? Recommended motion to approve.
My motion to approve.
All right, first or second?
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. 4-0, thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, contract award, Division of Engineering Service Requirements Contract, recurring Scott Hobbs. Or we just did that one. Yeah, I'm sorry. Contract award, comprehensive healthcare services. Please forgive me. Rick and Major, welcome.
Good morning. Again, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing, Major Road Attention. Contract award PUR 1423, comprehensive healthcare services for inmates. Move to award a contract to the lowest responsible proposer, Prime Care Medical Incorporated of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for the lowest total proposed based on a monthly average inmate population of 400 in the amount of $1,895,061.04. Also in the proposal, there was a price also given if we were to reach 450 inmates, and there's a price in the budget, there's a price in the proposal that reflects that pricing. Also, there's a budget transfer request before you for $190,000 from the various accounts to cover the shortfall for the proposed FY20 budget, which is showing the fiscal impact on the ARF. We received proposals on May 29th. After reviewing the qualification, experience, and technical proposal, we deemed that only one proposer met the qualifications that in the proposed RFP document. This is a 1-year contract beginning July 1st with 4 consecutive 1-year options. There could be price increase or decrease based on the daily average medical cost, CPI. Also, you can see in here that it talks about the detention centers accreditation. The RFP was advertised as we normally do in the various newspapers and also in the various websites. And we have the recommendation of the coordinating committee to award to Prime Care Medical Incorporated of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
We're required to provide some level of health care, correct?
We are required constitutionally to provide the same level of health care that's available in the community to the inmates.
How many beds is at this detention center, capacity?
495.
And how many is on a daily basis average, you'd think?
Right now, we're running around 337 average daily population.
This is elementary question. I'm sure you're going to answer it pretty quick, but you know, in my own healthcare, whoever's healthcare, it would be less expensive. I'm sure this has been weighed out if we took a huge deductible and then the county paid the deductible, would it be cheaper for us to pay a huge deductible to lower the cost of insurance policy? Am I even close on this, bro?
It's not insurance policy. We're contracting.
It's a healthcare, right?
We're contracting with a company that provides the doctors, the nurses, the dentist, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide healthcare, right?
So
there in the jail.
there's
So we don't have to take them out.
Oh, okay, so they come in, and this is no matter what there's no insurance kicks in there anywhere?
No, most insurances, including Medicaid and the Medicare state coverages, once someone is incarcerated, they're no longer eligible.
So if they come in for a stab wound maybe, or you'd probably transport to hospital, I don't know, maybe a skin infection or something.
There are times we do have to transport to the hospital, yes.
Then who pays for that?
And this is all covered within the.
That's covered?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is a full risk proposal from that company saying.
Right, no matter
for this
what.
amount of money, they're going to provide all the
Gotcha.
services for the entire year.
Gotcha. I understand. Thank you.
Certainly.
I have a quick question here. It says the committee determined that only one provider was responsive, to the county's request. What were the issues that the other bidders had that made them not responsive?
The one company is brand new, and one of the requirements was to have at least 3 years of healthcare experience in correctional setting with at least 350 inmates. They did not meet that qualification. The other one was the incumbent, and within the last year and a half, they have failed to provide the contractual obligations that we've already had set forth. We went with 6 months without a doctor. We've gone right now 10 months without a mental health care professional, along with a number of other issues that were brought forth to the committee. And so we felt that since they had not fulfilled the obligations in the contract they already had, we didn't feel we could trust them to move forward.
Are we paying them for the contract that they're not fulfilling?
We are paying them because they're still providing the services to the inmate, but just not at the level. They're trying, like for example, they're bringing someone in from Frederick County on a part-time basis to help with the mental health shortfall, but it's not meeting the obligations. They've not been able to hire a person to fill that position. So the committee just did not feel comfortable moving forward with this company because they have changed. Initially, it was ConMed was the name of the company. They were a local company from Hanover, Maryland. During this 5-year period, they had merged with a company called ConMed, and subsequently last fall, now they've become a company called WellPath. So it just has not been a good situation for us.
I certainly understand your reasoning and would
Yes.
agree. I just wonder, might there be an opportunity for us to recoup some of last year's contract money if they weren't providing the level of care that was required? Can we get a refund? Has it already been paid?
We can, being that it's come to light, we can also bring them back to the table and make them aware of the situation and hold them to that contract requirements.
Okay.
We can make the attempt to recoup some monies.
I think on a $1.8 million, $1.9 million contract, I don't know how much it was last year.
It's less than that.
Yeah.
It was 1.4.
1.4.
It's less, but we would definitely reach out and bring it to the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah, was that figured in the budget? I mean, that extra money from last year to this year?
There is a budget adjustment. It partially was, okay, so we expected an increase and we did budget for an increase. However, the increase that we budgeted for is not enough to cover the 1.9. It does require a budget adjustment of $190,000 that you should have in your packet.
Actually, yes, you have a budget adjustment on
Okay.
the back of your.
It's easier to ask sometimes, you know, so
Yeah.
find it in there, so. We're a deficit of 190,000.
That's correct.
That comes out to about $4,000 an inmate per year.
Well, yeah, your
I'd have
costs
to
are
do the math
rotating.
on that. Yeah.
Commissioners, there's a recommended motion to award the contract.
I don't think we have a choice.
I would make a motion to approve the contract and the budget transfer adjustment. If we need to have separate motions, we can do it separately. But I would also like to see an effort to try and recoup some money from the plan that we're currently on.
You want to make that part of your motion just a separate request for the recoup?
I'd make it a separate request since we're all here and you've just made it.
We're all consensus in favor?
Yeah.
Separate motions.
All right.
Is that,
What's the first? Or just a request for
the first motion would be to approve the contract to Prime Care Medical and the budget adjustment.
I second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Wayne, you want to give direction via a motion to try to collect any of the, is that what you're saying, or you just want a consensus?
Do we need to make a motion, Kirk? You don't need a motion.
Just a consensus.
A
Yeah.
consensus to move forward collecting any services we thought we were unjustifiably charged for.
And report back in
And you have
30 days or,
before to do that. You know, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next, sole source procurement award for family-centered support. Rick Curry.
Again,
And
Rick Curry, Allison Horton, Grant Management Office of Grant Management. Move to award a sole source procurement to Washington County Department of Social Services in an amount of $69,060 for operating expenses of the Family Center operated by Washington County Department of Social Services. The purpose of the services provided is to fulfill the requirements contained in the Community Partnership Agreement, which is entered on or about July 1st of 2019 by and between the Board of County Commissioners, Washington County, and the State of Maryland acting through the Subcabinet for Children. This would be a one-year contract with a possibility of one-year renewal. The Office of Grant Management wish to apply Section 1-106.2A1 of the Code of Public Laws of Washington County, Maryland, to the procurement request. This section states that the sole source procurement are utilized and permissible when only one source exists that meets the county's requirements. This request requires 4 of the 5 commissioners in order to proceed with the sole source procurement. If approved, the following steps of the process will occur as outlined by law. Not more than 10 days after execution and approval of the contract under this section, the procurement agency shall publish notice of award in a newspaper of general circulation in the county, and second, an appropriate file of the sole source procurement shall be maintained as required. The fiscal impact, as stated, is $69,060. And it is concurrence with the local management board.
Commissioners, seeing that there's only 4 here today, thoughts and comments?
How long the Family Center has been operated by the Department of Social Services for last several years at least?
Yes, you're correct.
And I think they do a fairly good job of managing it.
They do.
So I'm in support of the sole source procurement.
I am too.
Is that a motion, first and a second? Is that what you're looking for, a motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion, Mr. Baker? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's your 4 out of 5. Please note. Commissioner Schmidt was not in it. Next, FY 20 opioid operational command center grant. Stephanie Lopole. And hey, who else do you have there with you today?
Hello, I'm sorry. Stephanie Leopold is unable to be here, so I'm going to be filling in for her. Along with me today, I have Rebecca Hogemeyer, Program Director for Washington County Sheriff's Office Day Reporting Center. We're here this morning requesting a motion to approve the submission of a grant application for the Opioid Operational Command Center grant in the amount of $57,190 and accept funding as awarded. The Washington County Sheriff's Office is requesting funds from the OOCC to supplement the cost of the Global Monitoring Position Portable Breathalyzer Monitoring Devices and Rapid Drug Testing Devices for participants attending the Washington County Day Reporting Center. The grant funds will allow the DRC to meet the anticipated increase in demand in FY20 for these services, along with provide enhanced monitoring and testing procedures. The DRC is requesting $42,290 for the GPS leasing and $14,900 for substance testing services. The total the total grant request of $57,190. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the grant guidelines and the application. There is no matching funds requirement associated with the grant, and the grant will not result in new recurring expenses for the county. The grant's performance period begins July 1st, 2019, and will go through June 20, 2020. June 30, correction. 2020. June 30th, 2020.
And the grant won't cause the county to have any new recurring costs.
Yep.
Commissioners, any comments? Recommend a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the grant.
Is there a second? Second. First and second, all in favor say, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next, Susan Buchanan, not Stephanie
herself.
Lepole. Thank you very much. Hotel rental tax funding request, Maryland Symphony Orchestra.
I believe I had.
Should have been a clang of cymbals or something.
Good morning again. I'm Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management, and I do not have Emily Socks today with me. We have a different substitution since the agenda was presented. We have, I believe, Mindy Marsden. That's me. Okay. Your interim executive director for the Maryland Symphony Orchestra, and can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kyle Duvall, and I'm the new Director of Advancement for the Symphony as of last week.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. We're here today requesting a motion to approve the hotel rental tax funding for the Maryland Symphony Orchestra, an amount to be determined today for the direct expenses associated with the 34th Annual Salute to Independence at the Antietam National Battlefield, which will be held July 6, 2019. The MSO has submitted a request for $35,000 of HRT funding to assist with costs associated with the event, which as stated, would this year be held July 6th at the Antietam National Battlefield. The total event budget is set at $218,000. The MSO has secured funding from other sources for the event, totaling $124,160. They will also receive in-kind contributions totaling $93,840 from community partners and the National Battlefield. The Board of County Commissioners has provided financial support to this event historically from the HRT Fund. In 2018, they contributed $35,000 towards the direct expenses of the event. The event does meet 7 of the Board of County Commissioners' goals for the hotel rental tax funding program. Would you like to have any comments or answer any?
We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm sure you've read, and those of you who have come, we have between 25 and 35,000 people come, depending on the weather, of course, but we're expecting an excellent turnout. We have a great program. We have good cooperation with the battlefield, with the EMS, with the fire and rescue, with the various police agencies who provide security. I think it's just a fantastic event. I think it's one of the key events in Washington County, and certainly if you've ever tried to get a motel room in Washington County on that weekend, you sure can't. So
Really?
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to praise the event and your participation. It makes Washington County stand out amongst the crowd, that type of a event. I think we're known nationally for that, and your willingness to participate is a small price or fee to pay for that type of recognition for our county. I believe former Commissioner Bill McKinley said it breaks down to about $1 a person in attendance.
That's
I'm going to support it. So Commissioners, any other comments for a motion?
No question. Beautiful event, beautiful venue, great music.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much.
that was a motion.
35,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you very much.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is County Administrator Rob Slocum, the person between us and the taco truck. So, thank you very much. Award-winning taco truck. But,
Commissioners, a little bit of background. As I mentioned last week, very briefly, in this book each year are goals of each of the department heads, division directors, as well as my office of administrator, as well as you as the Board of County Commissioners. Last week I provided to you in hard copy an initial look at those. Those have not changed from what's in your agenda request form here today. Staff has provided theirs for incorporation into the next budget book. As you know, the budget was wrapped up last week or the week prior. And with that, we'd like to get on to these goals and initiatives for the next year. So with that, keeping in mind the size of the staff, over 800 full-time employees, a budget in total with grants and so forth of approximately $300 million, it's important that we stay focused, remain on track with energy and efficiency. And so the FY20 goals before you, both mine, and I'm seeking your support on those or your feedback as you choose, as well as the board goals, likewise, those can easily be adopted and edited as you see fit. For the County Administrator, FY20 goals: advance growing public safety, education, infrastructure, economic development, and human services offered by the county. Focus on the abundant energy as staff, as you've mentioned here today. Thank you very much for the support of staff. Enhance customer service. We are working on a software protocol and tools to further enhance the customer service to see that each customer is responded to in a timely fashion, 24 hours or less with a phone call or some return communication. And that will be probably the third pillar upon which we've got 3 initiatives, and those are Clean County, which is working out very well, saving money while promoting county, the scenic beauty of Washington County. Making Connections is also a wonderful private-public partnership that's paid large dividends. So the third aspect of that, as I say, is this year we'd like to really kick off a customer service enhancement project and be working closely with staff on that. Next would be execute a comprehensive fire plan, as you know, to execute the SAFER grant of 29 firefighters. Execute appropriate use of additional EMS funding to provide a sustainable funding source for those services. Break ground on the Public Safety Training Center, $11.5 million project, which will serve the Sheriff's Office, fire, and EMS. Design on-campus expansion of the Senior Center. There was a grant that was awarded to the county, working with the Commission on Aging for the existing building to expand services out there. And if you'll remember, before this board, the prior board looked at the agenda request form of that recently, and the basis of approval of that was to allow the Commission on Aging to further enhance its own funding sources and sustainable development for various activities that could help raise funds out there. Sorry about that. Plan expanded recreational programs. As Director of Public Works Andrew Escherman was in here, we are looking to enhance in the collaboration with recreational activities, among those obviously being the golf course, where a large amount of county funds are expended currently. Promote various projects like Urban Improvement Project, Mount Etna Park, Cascade Development, public-private partnerships already underway. Begin construction of Professional Boulevard, design Halfway Boulevard to Greencastle Pike, complete Creighton Boulevard to Showalter Road, and also Colonel H.K. Douglas, which we were out there a couple months ago kicking off the groundbreaking. Seek creativity and enterprise funds for long-term cost-saving solutions, which Dan DeVito and other staff and leading enterprise funds have been working on. Transition staff through program retirement of staff at various positions through through the drop program. We know we have some already subscribed, and we'll have a couple directors coming up in the next 6 to 8 months, which we are already seeking to transition through that period. Progress upon strategic imperatives identified by the board and fully developed by staff. You have those included in your agenda. And communication and collaboration with all the municipalities. What we found is that the relationships, and Susan Small's done an excellent job of this, the relationships are the basis for all progress. Without that relationship of trust and communication among the municipalities, City of Hagerstown and others, and the clients and prospects that we're working with, we won't get as far. The basis of real progress is going to be reaching out and continue those relationships of making connections. So that's what I have for my administrative goals. Again, I will bring these back. If there are any comments, I'd be glad to receive them. Any other direction, questions? If not, I'd be glad to move on to the board goals, which are here before you.
Just, Rob, what do you estimate we have in drop or retirement by 2020? Well, I can't go fiscal. Let's say by the end of the year, this year.
Actually, there's an odd date in there, so by February I'll give you.
Okay.
I know we have 2 directors, and I think we have I'm going to take a rough estimate of about 15 various staff members. And while the directors are certainly important, what I want to convey to you is that there are many staff members that at any level, if we lose them, and these are well-seasoned people, so some of them may have over 30 years of experience. It could be a plant operator. It also takes a very careful transition to get the experience and expertise to replace them, just like it does a director. So maneuvering and managing through that is a complex process. Fortunately, we have good leadership in place to help do that.
Okay.
And now that we're looking at the drop program this way, we can see through communication with those that are seeking to retire in the next several months, we can plan more proactively for it. If nothing else, we'll go on to the board goals, and a large part of those goals are certainly the mission, vision, and values. And the goals obviously before you is same service lines. There is consistency, obviously, with the administrative goals and the board goals. Same service lines to endeavor to further improve those. Maintain efficiency in services provided by willing and capable staff. Exceed the prior funding for public education and public safety. This board just did that with this FY 2020 approved budget, and I expect we will continue to see the need for that. Some of that is legislated, some of that is just out of necessity. Enhance accountability in public safety for the most appropriate use of taxpayer dollars. That's actually something that happens on a daily basis, and that we look out for, as Mr. DeVito presented to you, selling some equipment that was in storage for a number of years to make the best use of that resource. Execute county business in an open and transparent manner so that the Board of County Commissioners may best serve the public. As Marcus presented here today, the public is interested in what you as the Board of County Commissioners does. And through these open meetings, this is certainly an excellent venue for him and others to learn about it. Lead county and collaborative partnerships, both underway and to be developed with public and private partners. I think we're doing more and more of that. As you can see, one example is making connections, and there are others in place. Take full advantage of the urban improvement project with education and economic development opportunities. We are about to launch in October the opening of that activity, and it will be very exciting to see this fall what all prospers from the investment placed by the Board of County Commissioners and others into that downtown complex, as well as USMH, which the commissioners have been fully supporting and financially supporting in assistance. Lead reinvestment in Cascade Town Center, former Fort Ritchie and Community Center. Foster economic growth, vitality through the most prudent and secure use taxpayer dollars, and progress again upon the strategic initiatives. One thing that I will be asking staff to do is to post the mission, vision, and values that each one of them and with their staff has come up with in their departments and divisions, to post those in their offices so that those are clear. Those are their values, those are their vision. They do fit in with the overall strategic approach of Washington County government and the direction you've given me. So I think we've brought a renewed focus here with these goals. But again, anything you have to say, would gladly take your commentary and your leadership of those.
I think they're very well done, good goals. Hopefully we can meet most of them or all of them. I think we've already met some. And I think staff is administrative goals have been, a lot of them are underway. So, I don't know, I'm good.
Okay.
On goal 4 there, foster cross-sector community engagement for collectively addressing the opioid crisis.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there was in Hogan mandate a group put together, and I think you mentioned task force in here. So when can we expect a report? Maybe we won't get one, but should we get a report? Because I know you referenced the health department there, and I think they're involved. So maybe we could have Earl come in and give us or someone from his staff or that group give us an update as to the advancements that they've made and what they're doing. So maybe we won't have to do some repetitious stuff here.
Right, absolutely. I very much thank you for that comment, because that is exactly when staff looked at what we were trying to do and the resources available, looked toward the health department as one of our leaders and vision for that opioid strategic plan. And one of the reasons we put that in is because of what the opioid epidemic has done to the resources in Washington County, all the way from emergency services, the number of ambulance calls, to employment, as well as education. It's affected many sectors of our community. So I will gladly do that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
2 items I would like to see, and maybe they're already mentioned in your listing of goals and they're just worded differently. One thing I would like to see is more engagement with our boards and commissions that we have. We have 30-some boards, and I know we just added 2 more last year. There for a while, maybe a year or 2 ago, we were doing really well with meeting with our EDC board, for example, on a quarterly basis. Some of our boards, I think it would be nice if we had a public meeting with them, and maybe it's we join them for one of their monthly meetings, or they come in here on our Tuesday and meet with us, just to get an update of what's going on with their boards. We don't, I know each of us take a different board and we attend their meetings, but I think it would be nice to get an update directly from those board members. Also, the process of how we select the board members. I think that I would like to see if maybe the commissioners would have more of a hands-on role in selecting the board members for those boards. They are our appointments, and sometimes we have these self-perpetuating boards that they choose their own members, and they're fine people. I don't mean anything, to disparage those people, but I think we tend to choose like-minded folks if we allow those groups to choose their own members, and it would be nice to make sure we have diversity of thought on those boards. So that's one concerning our boards. The other thing, I think it's important, now that the weather's getting nicer, we may not be able to do this in the wintertime, but now that the weather's nicer, it's summer, I really enjoy when we go out and get our eyes on our projects that are going on throughout the county, not as a photo op, but certainly the Herald Mail is invited to come. But we make a lot of decisions and we spend a lot of money on different capital projects in the county. And I think it would be nice to see those projects while they're underway. And, we can do a drive by ourselves or look at a map, in a picture. But I think it's always nice when we can do that as a group and have a better understanding of what's developing and taking place in our community. So the fine list of goals, I would just add those 2 would be something I would like to see.
Okay.
I did want to mention something. I'm a pretty big stickler on this PR, media, press. Julie just stuck the camera on me, so, but anyway, we discussed this in strategic planning, and I think our staff does a wonderful job with PR. But boy, we gotta head off the problems we gotta be on the offense instead of the defense. And I don't know. I think we need a separate little agenda for that somewhere off the side, that we head off problems. The public doesn't understand half of our issues we do, just from reading social media or the paper or listening to them. They don't understand the decisions we make. And then we're always on the defense trying to explain these decisions. I think, and it's easier said than done, trust me. You can only so many people are engaged. But we got to do the best we can to educate everybody we can on decisions that are made in this room or anywhere in the county staff level. The media, that's important to me.
More information on the proactive nature of government than the reactive nature.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Give you an example that the Board of Ed has done. They always have signing ceremonies for athletes going to college. And just recently, over at Tech High, they had a signing ceremony for students who were already going out into the workforce. And that's a compliment to Tech High. Why it's just as important signing a contract for a new career as signing a scholarship to go to college. So there are ways to applaud them for being out in front. I think that leads into what we're saying. We need to be out in front.
Sure.
So I would support that.
Absolutely. And an update for you on our website. We are working as that rolls out. We are working on updates to that. We are also working on the technical aspects of it, as well as a Washington County app, which we're pretty excited about, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, there were some corrections made in
That will help
restoring the
us.
link to the individual commissioners. One of the things I saw yesterday back on there, we're only going back like a year for minutes or anything or videos. Do we have the option to go back further? If someone wants to go back?
Yes.
That would be a suggestion I would have for that as well.
Certainly.
Year or two or more, or whatever.
Right.
Anything more than that, they can easily request it, correct?
Yes, we'll try to get it at least
Maybe
3
a little
years if we
longer than
can.
a year.
Yep.
So, other than that, it's looking good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.